radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, respective radio stations island-wide, Tel TV Plus Channel 15, and online viewers. I'm Rolika Roach, and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Minister of Finance, Marinka Gums, to address you. Minister Gums, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika, fellow colleague minister, members of the press, and to the people of St. Martin, good morning and blessed day to all. I want to take this opportunity to provide you with important updates on several key matters, namely, Budget 2025. The Budget 2025 was submitted to the Council of Advice at the beginning of November 2024, and it was returned to us on December 3rd, 2024. The Ministry of Finance finalized the NADR report and made the necessary recommended changes. Yesterday, the Council of Ministers approved the budget, and it has been sent to the Governor to be forwarded to Parliament. I want to make it very clear that the budget process for 2025 started in April 2024. The government and ministries have been working on this document for months. It is not a document that is drafted within a month. It goes through various checks and balances, which is why it takes so long. The intention is to proceed with the budget 2025 in Parliament next week. Following this, in May 2025, we will present a budget amendment which aligns with the law and the timelines for such amendments. I look forward to presenting more details to Parliament next week during my presentation on the 2025 budget. Barbados, IMF Caribbean Forum on Green Energy. Together with the Minister of TIAT, I attended the IMF Caribbean Forum on Green Energy. This was an important event focused on renewable energy. What was different about this forum was the inclusion of both finance and energy ministers. Usually, finance ministers are never involved, which can create friction since most initiatives require collaboration between action and funding. During the forum, I learned from various islands about the importance of collaboration. One major issue discussed was the high costs we face when tendering for items like engines and solar systems. A key takeaway was the need for Caribbean nations to collaborate on joint bids, which would make us stronger and result in more competitive pricing. I also learned about different renewable energy options beneficial to the Caribbean, including solar, offshore wind, and geothermal energy. Geothermal energy, for instance, uses the heat from beneath the Earth's surface to generate electricity or provide heating. Volcanic islands such as St. Lucia and Nevis are particularly well suited for this energy source. Our islands are greatly affected by climate change, and St. Martin knows this all too well. It is essential that we learn from and support each other. Barbados, for example, was able to secure a debt-to-climate swap after 2 years of effort. This raises an important discussion with the Netherlands. How can we work together to redirect debt repayments into investments for the country instead of continuing to borrow funds while repaying loans? Collaboration among Caribbean nations is crucial, because we are truly stronger together. Tax tables for 2023. The tax tables for 2023 have been completed, approved, and will be published this week. These tables should ideally be published before the start of the year to ensure they are incorporated into payroll systems for accurate tax calculations, which prevents under or overpayment of taxes. The Department of Fiscal Affairs is currently working on finalizing the tax tables for 2024 and 2025, which are expected to be completed, approved, and published in the first quarter of 2025. For the Ministry of Finance to establish the tax tables, the minimum wage must be first determined by the Ministry of VSA. Addressing this has been a priority, as there were legal discrepancies in how minimum wages were established in previous years, which caused delays in legally finalizing the minimum wage and, consequently, the tax tables. Collaborative meetings were held to expedite the resolution of this issue. Effective April 2024, the minimum wage was set at $10.40, and as of January 1, 2025, it will increase to $10.86. With this information, the Ministry of Finance can now proceed with creating and publishing the tax tables. Timely completion of tax tables is essential for compliance with tax regulations. Delays, such as completing tables 2 years after the relevant year, lead to inefficiencies and additional work for the tax office when conducting tax assessments. This issue is particularly pronounced given the current lack of digitalized systems and the extensive manual work still being done. Road tax. We will continue using the current license plates and QR code sticker systems for vehicles. However, efforts are underway to enhance the online payment system for vehicle tax. Previously, delays in receipt issuance and limited payment options were common issues. For 2025, we aim to streamline this process, making it more efficient and convenient. Vehicle tax payments will commence in January 2025, with fees remaining unchanged from 2024. However, for 2026, we plan to adjust fees based on factors such as vehicle weight and personalized license plates. In collaboration with my colleague, Minister of Justice, we will establish measures to ensure compliance, including scheduling controls to verify road tax payments for 2025. Savings plan for civil servants. I am pleased to announce the introduction of a new monthly savings plan for civil servants starting in January 2025. This initiative came from feedback received during a Finance Friday session where civil servants expressed their desire to reinstate a similar plan that existed in the past. This plan allows civil servants to save a portion of their net monthly salary. They will have 3 saving options to choose from, which will be paid out at the end of the year. This initiative reflects the ministry's commitment to addressing the needs of our civil servants and promoting financial security. I encourage everyone to explore this opportunity through their payroll representatives. Allow me to thank those who proposed this initiative, and I welcome any other suggestions which may be taken into consideration. Minimum payment vendors. I understand that despite the statement issued by the Bankers Association, some vendors are still requiring minimum payments or adding fees to card transactions. I will be meeting with the Bankers Association to discuss the steps they have taken to address this issue, as it is a breach of the vendor's contract with the banks. If you experience this, I urge you to report it to the St. Martin Bankers Association at gmail.com, in addition to posting it on social media. This will ensure appropriate action is taken. Subsidized school teachers. I received a letter regarding subsidized schools not having received their 1 or 2% indexation. I truly sympathize with them, as this is long overdue. The amount was included in the budget amendment and should have been paid once the amendment was approved. From the Ministry of Finance, we encourage the Ministry of Education to prepare in advance to expedite the process. I receive daily requests about payments, but the Finance Department can only execute payments after the relevant ministry completes the required advice and obtains the necessary approvals, which sometimes include signatures from the head of the department, the controller, the secretary general, the minister, and occasionally the governor. I am pleased to report that the 1% owed to the subsidized schools was paid yesterday, and I encourage the schools to distribute this to teachers promptly. The 2% indexation advice has been finalized by the Ministry of Education and should be signed by the Minister of Education and myself as Minister of Finance this week, so that payments can be made hopefully by the end of next week. Revenue increase. Increased revenue for the country remains a top priority. I will continue to emphasize that we cannot sustain the country's finances solely on the backs of the people of St. Martin. I had hoped to receive the advice from the SED on the proposed tourist entry tax before the end of this year. However, I have been informed that the advice will now be forthcoming in February 2025. I want to reassure the public that I will keep everyone informed about the developments regarding the tourist entry tax, which is expected to become a key source of revenue for St. Martin. Once this tax is implemented, it will allow us to incorporate much-needed tax relief measures, such as adjustments to wage and profit taxes, providing relief for our people while ensuring the country remains financially sustainable. Thank you for your time and attention. I remain committed to improving our financial systems and ensuring progress for everyone, and look forward to any questions the media may have.
Thank you, Minister Gums, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Minister of Justice, Natalie Tacklin, to address you. Minister Tacklin, you have the floor.
Good morning to the members of the media, to those viewing and listening at home, and also, of course, to my colleague ministers. My remarks today are actually somewhat brief. I also only wanted to speak on one topic particularly, and then I'll remain available for any questions after. I have taken note of the ongoing incidents in the Simpson Bay Lagoon with respect to break-ins on vessels, the stealing of dinghies. I want to thank the St. Martin Marine Trade Association for bringing this urgent situation to my attention this past Monday. And since Monday, I've been diligently working together with the Chief Prosecutor, the Coast Guard, and KPSM to come to a resolution and to come to measures that we can take in order to tackle this issue. In light of that, we've seen actually that there's been an increase of Coast Guard patrols in the Simpson Bay Lagoon in the evening. This is also being done in collaboration with the security for the different marinas, such as PDP, IGY, Kupokoi. In addition, the Coast Guard is also doing joint patrols on land and water then with KPSM. And of course, we are in touch with our French counterparts because this is a cross-border issue. And unfortunately, we notice in these types of situations where we are two countries as much as we feel that we're one, and that there are complications when it comes to crossing the borders, and especially, for example, that there's no treaty in place when it comes to hot pursuit on water, for example. There are, however, case-by-case permissions granted during the course of this week. Nevertheless, tomorrow morning, I have an urgent meeting with myself, the Prime Minister, the Coast Guard, KPSM, and the Préfet on the French side so that we can bring this matter to the attention of our French counterparts and try to work together. Again, I want to reassure the marine industry, I want to reassure the public that public safety and security is something that I take very, very seriously and that I have made a priority of this situation since Monday. I want to also show my commitment and my reassurance and acknowledgement of the marine industry and the impact that it has on our economy, and I will continue to support where necessary and to take measures in order to secure and protect our industry, especially in this busy season. So I think that brings it. I think I could also report that one stolen dinghy has been recovered yesterday and returned to the owner since. And of course, investigations are ongoing. I can't speak too much, of course, to any active investigations or people having been arrested. But I just want to reassure the public that this has our attention, that we take it seriously, and that we're doing everything in our power to stop this and to nip it in the bud and to ensure that it doesn't become an issue throughout the rest of the season. So again, I want to say St. Martin is safe. Come here, and again, your government is working for you. Yes, that's all, and then I remain available for any questions from the media.
Thank you, Minister Tacklin, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport, and Telecommunication, Grisha Heilige Martin, to address you. Minister Heilige Martin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ruleika, and good morning to everyone listening and viewing online. Good morning to the media. Good morning to my fellow colleagues, and thank you, Minister of Justice, for that, because we're going to really need a lot of assistance when it comes to the security in St. Martin. I would like to provide an update on my recent travel and a few important developments and announcements. Last week, I had the opportunity to attend a key forums and meetings and events representing the interests of St. Martin, and here's a summary of the engagements and insights. So on December 2nd, I traveled to Barbados alongside Minister of Finance, Ms. Marinka Gums, to participate in the 2024 High-Level Caribbean Forum on Managing the Green Energy. I think Minister of Finance also made mention of that. This critical forum, held on December 3rd, was hosted by the Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva, and the Prime Minister, Honorable Mia Mottley. The event provided invaluable insights into transitioning St. Martin into a country aligned with sustainable and green energy standards. The discussions highlighted the need for a comprehensive strategy, which includes implementing effective policies, legislations, and initiatives that promote sustainable practices for our country. Both Minister Gums and I recognize the significant work ahead in ensuring St. Martin to become a regional green energy sector, a regional leader in the green energy sector. On December 4th, I paid a courtesy visit with the Senator and Minister of Economic Affairs and Investment of Barbados, Mr. Chad Blackman, and his delegation. And during our discussion, we explored several mutual interests, topics of mutual interest. One, of course, was agriculture, where I can learn from other countries. That's one of the topics I always bring up. Barbados aims to assist St. Martin with establishing an agriculture department, as I told them our situation. This partnership will include opportunities for young Barbadian agricultural entrepreneurs to contribute to the development of St. Martin agriculture sector under a mutual beneficial agreement. Then we spoke about investment promotion agency. I shared my intention to establish an investment, an IPA, an investment promotion agency for St. Martin, modeled on successful investments in the region. Barbados's Invest Barbados will provide assistance with this process, sharing their expertise and best practices. We also discussed food security, trade, and logistics. Both of us emphasized the importance of food security and agreed to collaborate on trade, transshipment, and logistics. The CARICOM Economic Partnership Agreement, the EPA, with the European Union provides a solid framework for pursuing these initiatives, particularly as St. Martin moves towards an association membership in CARICOM. Minister Blackman also noted that several African airlines are scheduled to begin commercial flights to and from Barbados in the first and second quarter of 2025. So they're looking at, maybe in Q1, a 6-hour flight from Nigeria to Barbados. This opens opportunities for connecting St. Martin with these new routes and enhancing regional and global air connectivity, something that we want to just maybe start having a discussion on. In conclusion, we both agree that establishing a working relationship on these topics is timely given the ongoing regional and global developments. To formalize this partnership, an MOU will be developed, same as one that I'm working on with St. Kitts. A joint working group, it's going to be a joint working group, including the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Barbados, will be formed to exchange documentation and draft concrete proposal. These proposals will be finalized during a follow-up visit to Barbados in maybe Q1 of 2025. This collaboration underscores the importance of regional partnership in addressing common challenges and pursuing shared opportunities. Following the Barbados Forum, I traveled to Miami to attend my first meeting of the Caribbean Tourism Organization, the CTO. As a regional tourism development agency, the CTO plays a critical role in promoting sustainable tourism across the Caribbean. During the event, I attended the Ministerial Council and Board of Directors meeting, where a draft reimagined plan for the organization was presented. While St. Martin contributes over $100,000 annually to the CTO, I observed that its potential impact may not be fully utilized. To address this, I plan to conduct a thorough review in the coming months to determine whether our continued participations aligned with our strategic goals. As a strong advocate for regional integration, I believe our involvement should deliver measurable benefits, and I will explore upcoming events to better assess its value. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the One St. Martin Association, Dr. Rhoda Arundel, on the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU, with the Baku Initiative Group during their recent meeting in Baku, Africa. This agreement signifies a significant step forward in the decolonization efforts for St. Martin, ensuring global support and resources for this critical cause. As a former member of Parliament, I have been deeply invested in the finalization of the decolonization process. The 2020 parliamentary motion that I posed on decolonization and the subsequent petitions to the international bodies has laid a foundation for advancing these efforts. The third report from August 2021 reinforces the necessity of ensuring autonomy and addressing discriminatory practices faced by Caribbean Dutch citizens. I am confident that removing obstacles to self-determination will unlock new opportunities for St. Martin's economic growth and regional collaboration, including the possibility of a full CARICOM membership. This will benefit not only St. Martin, but also the Kingdom as a whole. And finally, it is with great pleasure that I announce the completion and receipt of a final report on an economic impact of the yachting and maritime industry on St. Martin. This comprehensive study was made possible through a dynamic public-private partnership involving the Ministry of Tourism, Economic Affairs, TIAT, the Port of St. Martin, and the St. Martin Maritime Association, SMMTA. These three key partners formed a dedicated project management team to oversee this process, and following a competitive bidding procedure, the consultancy company, which is Eco Sustainability Ltd, was selected to carry out this study, I think, over a year ago. The key findings from the report are as follows. The findings underscore the importance of maritime sector as a cornerstone of St. Martin's economy. The significant economic contribution, the yachting maritime industry accounts for 16.3% of St. Martin's GDP. The growth and vessel arrivals since 1960s yachting has grown substantially. And in 2023 alone, we recorded 4,029 vessels, including 418 super yachts, 1,484 sailing yachts, and 2,284 motor yachts. Together, these vessels contribute, according to the report, $140 million in direct spending with 26,386 yacht visitors. Major events such as the Heineken Regatta remain a pivotal event for the sector, attracting 63 visiting yachts, 453 international crew members, and 275 volunteers, generating $3.6 million in the economic activity. When it comes to the employment and business impact, the industry supports 300 businesses and sole proprietorship, creating approximately 4,769 jobs and contributing to $242 million in annual expenditures. This study confirms that the maritime industry is a significant driver of our economy and emphasizes the needs for sustainable practices to ensure its long-term growth. We are committed to enhancing the management of our territorial waters, developing new policies, and modernizing legislation to improve efficiency and competition and competitiveness, promoting innovation and fostering systemic changes to align the sector with global best practices. My vision is to position St. Martin as a global leader in the maritime industry. This report is the foundation of that journey, offering insights that will guide strategic decisions and development in the years ahead. I extend my heartfelt appreciation to our partners, the Port of St. Martin Maritime Association, and the Ministry of TIAT for their dedication and collaboration. Together, we are charting a course towards a thriving and sustainable maritime industry. The full report will be made available on the government's official website for public review, and a detailed presentation of the findings is planned for 2025, where we will engage stakeholders to discuss the next steps in the industry's development. And lastly, just an announcement. Next weekend, we have our event called Phillipsburg Becomes Magical. It's going to be December 20th to the 22nd. We're looking at 40 plus or more vendors, and it will be on the boardwalk between 1 p.m. and 10 p.m. And that's it for me, and that is, look forward to any questions the media may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Heilige Martin, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, December 11, 2024. We now move over to the question and answer session. And Bibi Shaw of SMN News, you have the floor.
Good morning, Ruleika. Thank you. Good morning, ministers. Minister of Finance, I must say thank you for the update on the COLA payments. If my memory serves me correct, these teachers have been waiting over a year. No, I'm not asking the question yet. But I just want to acknowledge that your statement, because last week I heard one statement and I've been hearing statements over a year and still these teachers are not being paid. I just would like to tell you this, that we are approaching the holiday season, and I really hope that government gets its act together and pay these teachers once and for all. My question is to the Deputy Prime Minister, Ms. Heilige Martin. Ms. Martin, last week I was not here, but I did monitor the press briefing, and a statement was made by the Prime Minister, and I'm assuming that you are the deputy, so I'm asking you the question. I assume that you know what's going on in the Ministry of General Affairs. The statement regarding the Disaster Reserve Fund, moving the money, diverting the money to for housing projects was announced. According to the information I have, documents I have, that fund was initiated by the steering committee some years ago. And the purpose is to secure a disaster fund for St. Martin. What I'd like to know, ministers, and I mean, all of you guys are here, did the Council of Ministers approve the diverting of such funds for housing projects? And if this is the case, ministers, I'd like to know, because we are in a hurricane belt, if another disaster such as Irma should strike us next year, God forbid, what are we going to do then? Go back to the Dutch looking for aid? I'd like to know, are we aware that there are some persons in this country looking for independence? And if that should happen without a disaster reserve fund, where are we going to get the money from? Who are we going to beg? And then the length of time it takes when monies go through this, the World Bank. I mean, have the Council of Ministers brought all this into consideration if, in fact, they took a decision?
Thank you, Bibi, for the question. As far as I am aware, and I'm looking at we haven't discussed anything like that. We had CoM yesterday, so no discussion.
It's pending.
It's pending discussion. It's pending discussions tomorrow. So we're pending discussion to discuss that. That is something the statement the Prime Minister made, and of course that would have to be discussed internally. And I think your next question, I think it was two questions, but I understood the importance of it. Of course, we don't want to be running back to the Dutch if anything happened to St. Martin. Importance, I think our primary focus right here, right now, is to make sure that we have something set aside for, and I'm not only speaking for myself, but I'm sure the Minister of Finance if you could not, if you agree, that we would want to have something set aside for God forbid something happened to St. Martin, a hurricane, another pandemic. So I think that is our focus. And I think I would allow, maybe let the Prime Minister come to you in the next press briefing and then maybe give a follow-up to his statement, because it still has to be discussed in CoM.
Thank,
Anyone else for me?
thank you,
before I go?
Minister. I would now like to invite Jacqueline Hoffman of the Daily Herald. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, ministers. My apologies. Minister of Justice, I would like to ask you, could you please follow up on the questions from last week, if you have insight in the spending of the crime fund and how much money went to the prosecutor's office? And my question is related to what you told about the lagoon. What is the situation really when people of French nationality commit a crime on the Dutch side and are prosecuted on the French side? And I ask this specifically regarding the murder of Sabine Goose, where the perpetrator is prosecuted on the French side, is held in Guadeloupe. So does the Dutch side is not involved in this murder that took place here in St. Martin?
So a couple different, let me go back to the crime fund. I'm still awaiting that information from within the Justice Ministry, so I'll otherwise make note of it. I was checking to see if my Chief of Staff was still there, but he's not. But I'll make note of this and follow up on it and perhaps provide those in writing to you once we do have some insight. With respect to your other question, I think that is a complex and difficult question to answer. I can't speak specifically on that particular case. I'm also not privy to the details of that investigation specifically. But what I can brief you on is, or explain a little bit, is the way that this usually goes. In this case, as a French national, let's say in this case, the French do not extradite them to the Dutch side. So that the whole issue then is, because they are French nationals, they're held and sent to Guadeloupe, and the cases are prosecuted through the French side. I know that then there is, of course, cooperation between the Dutch side authorities and the French side authorities. However, being that the person is a French national, that is then the prerogative of the French government, who then has a rule that they do not extradite their citizens. And you know, over time, we have seen that this is an issue for us, and because people on the French side are very well aware that if they commit crimes on the Dutch side, typically the French government is not going to extradite them to the Dutch side in order for them to be prosecuted here. So again, you know, we talked earlier about these cross-border issues that we have. One of them, you know, we've seen with what's going on in the lagoon. And another one, unfortunately, is what we're also seeing in the case of, you know, that people know and they're well aware, oh, if we do that, we'll get away. Maybe we'll just get a slap on the wrist from the French authorities, or they're not going to bother to pick us up. So it is something that, of course, we know and it happens, but again, you know, it's I said that complexity and intricacy of the fact that we are two countries. You know, we have our Soliga flag, and our unity flag, but yet, you know, we're still bound by all of these higher powers and things that have to be regulated much further away from us. You know, I gave the example of the hot pursuit. Those are things, that treaties that have to be signed between Paris and The Hague, you know, over matters that happen here. You know, we've seen it with the issue in Oyster Pond that took years and decades to resolve because it had to happen, you know, so far away from us. And I think those are the realities that we have to deal with as an island divided in two. So I think that, in a nutshell, or maybe more than a nutshell, explains the intricacies of that.
Just for clarification, the Dutch side does extradite French nationals to the French side?
That I'm not, I would have to double check. I believe that they do, though. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Tacklin. Thank you, Jacqueline. I would now like to invite Emma Lee of Island Nature Radio. You have the floor.
My question's for the Minister of Finance. So in previous governments and previous coalitions, for various reasons, including as a condition from the Dutch for funding, the MPs and ministers have been asked for voluntary reductions in their salaries. As you're working on the budget for 2025, is it your intention to ask for those kinds of reductions from ministers or members of parliament?
Thank you, Mr. Lee, for your question. That's a very good question, and I would definitely want to entertain such a discussion with both ministries, ministers, and Parliament. I must admit that this has not been an ongoing discussion, but is definitely something that we can consider based on the amendment that can come. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Minister Gums. Thank you, ML. I would now like to move on to the second round. Bibi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Relaika. Since I have the Ministry of Finance, I'll take that right away. Minister, you said in your open remarks that the budget 2025 should be going to Parliament next week. What I'd like to know, if, and that's if you could give it to us, because sometimes you hold back a little bit.
And I will hold back again.
No. The former government, they had in their capital expenditures several projects that had to be executed. For example, the side roads, secondary roads, and all the kind of roads that we have. Do you know if those projects are now included in the 2025? Because it was supposed to be in 2024, it was pushed to 2025. So I'd like to know if, because knowing that we have a deplorable, not only road infrastructure and drainage situation since the rainfall, if government, especially your ministry with Veromi, is prioritizing these projects.
The reason why I said I would hold back again, I think, Misha, thank you for your question, though. It's important that I allow protocol to be established. And first, I think what needs to happen is that I go to Parliament next week and I present such budget 2025 to the leaders of this country. And I encourage you and everyone else to basically tune in. I think we'll be going over on the 18th. To Parliament and discuss this budget in detail. But I want you to know that this government has taken the issues of this country into consideration, not only based on the fact that it was created since April, but since we came in, we have adjusted accordingly because we do recognize the issues. Roads is one, and we could sit down here until tonight and name a list of other issues that are affecting this country. So allow me first to present to the leaders of this country, and then I will come back and answer any questions that you may have on Budget 2025.
Thank you, Thank you, Minister Gums. Thank you, Bibi. Jacqueline, you have the floor.
Thank you, Minister of Justice, please.
Yes.
During the 4 years of the National Alliance and UP, 3 Secretary Generals had been dismissed, and 2 of them won their cases. One of them is Mr. Yushia, who was the Secretary General of the Ministry of Justice. And he is now back, as seen from the pictures. He's working as a legal advisor now. And how is he going from the position of SG for many, many years? Won his cases in court, is back at the ministry, but cannot hold the position of SG because somebody else has been appointed in the meantime.
I'll clarify that. I think it's maybe not very nice to speak very specifically about people maybe in a press briefing, but I will clarify at least Mr. Yusa's role. He was never Secretary General. He was acting Secretary General for quite a while. I believe he was the head of Judicial Affairs officially. And I think that's a personnel matter that's separate in respect to he's not back in the ministry. He's actually a part of my cabinet. He's actually my senior subject specialist and legal advisor within the cabinet, so he's not directly a civil servant within the ministry. Yes?
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Jacqueline. Emily, you have the floor.
Thank you. My question's for Minister of TIAT. Minister, you in your opening statement referred to this initiative that was signed between the One St. Martin Association and the Baku. The coalition, or the Council of Ministers now should be working on their governing program.
Yes.
So would you like to clarify what is government's position on independence and how it will figure into your governing term? Because this is something you are mentioning, and clearly should be mentioned in the governing program. So could you clarify what's government's position?
Well, first, thank you for your question, Emily. The St. Martin needs to be self-sufficient. So this government is going to be maybe looking in, not maybe, for sure looking into ways to make sure that the country is self-sustained. And I think once that is established, that means an independent, functioning country on its own. So with all these, based on everything that we're going to be working on, structuring, restructuring how certain processes go, digitization, making sure that some of the entities become privatized, maybe like the agriculture department. That the vision in general from this CoM, based on what I have read from before and what I know and what the projects that we're working on, is to ultimately make St. Martin a self-running, self-sustainable country. And that would ultimately lead to independence, but that's not for me to decide. That's, of course, for the people to decide. You would have to give this government a chance, for the next 4 years, to realize this self-sustainability trajectory. And then once that time comes and once that's been established, then we can discuss maybe having a referendum and maybe asking the people if they want independent, yes or no.
So just for clarity, working towards financial
Sustainability.
Or independence, financial independence is different than formal independence, declaring yourself independent. Will government specify clearly its position in its governing program? And are you referring to your position or government's position?
I'm referring to government's position on the type of projects that it's working on. And I think once a country is functioning the way it's supposed to be functioning, more self-reliant and more sustainable, then there's going to come a time that a referendum is going to call. When, we don't know. But I think we need to get these things in place during this term. And then one day we make a decision and we decide if a referendum will be called. That's not something I don't think we're going to put it in the governing program. Not sure yet if what the call of the call to independence may look like, but I know what the road is towards that, and that is what we're focusing on. One day a referendum has to be called in this country. It's been more than 2 decades. So eventually we will be going there, but we want to make sure that the people have enough faith in us and, have enough to feel that, trust in us to feel that we can have that day. One day, what are we going to do? Go back to becoming an associate member? The only way is to move towards more of a sustainable and self-reliant country. That's, I think, everyone's focus.
Thank you, Minister. Yes? We now move on to the third round. Bibi, you have the floor.
I'll take the Minister of Justice for now.
Bring it. Yes.
Let me digest a little bit. Minister, the LBs that for justice workers, the former minister worked heavily on getting a lot of these LBs distributed, but there are still workers. I can at least name one out of my head of the former acting head of immigration. I mean, her LB is still stuck somewhere. And even her payment that she was supposed to get while being an acting, still not done yet. Can you tell us, give us an update as to those persons who did not receive their LB? When exactly, are they going to get their LB? And what about back payment for those persons, those civil servants that already received their LB? Have they been paid, or are they being paid their back payment, what is owed to them? Because 14 years of waiting, before you could get a fancy book and their status exactly in their service. Where are we with this?
Yeah. Thank you, Bibi, for the question. I can let you know pretty much where I am and what I've done. It's been the past 2 weeks have been difficult for me and hectic in the sense of it's kind of getting and digging into information and figuring out what the status is of this ministry, what's been done over the past 6 months, what's been done over the past 4 years. And obviously the LB, the Landsbesluit and the rechtsposities are something that I too have followed in the media and that you read about, and that I'm trying to understand what has transpired and why it's taking so long, how we can assist. And speaking to the different departments, I'm still meeting departments. I was supposed to be meeting some right now, but came to the press briefing instead. But what I've also promised to different departments that I've been to is that I will personally try to get an idea of where we are, what's going on, what has been the process, and myself have a type of town hall with all the justice workers where they can then ask me questions based on what I've learned about the process, because so far it's been difficult for me to gather that information as well. What I have been told is that we're currently on batch 12 of the LBAs. Batch 12 is currently with the governor, and batch 13 is being worked on. In terms of how we have decided who is in what batch, that is unclear to me. And, those are the things too that you have people saying, well, the person that works right next to me already has their LBA. I haven't gotten mine yet. Similar issues at KPSM and different departments within the Justice Ministry. I don't know if it was just pull names out of a hat, to be honest, but I know that a batch is about 20 to 25 LBAs. So we're moving along, but I understand and acknowledge not at the speed of that would be, acceptable to the individuals who are living in this uncertainty for such a long time. In terms of the payments, what I have understood is that there are 2 phases in which the LBAs are being done. So phase 1 covers the period of 2023 to date, and then phase 2 would be these retroactive payments from 2010 going forward to 2023. But we're still in phase 1 in terms of actually putting everybody in the right respositie. So phase 2 still has to take place when it comes to those retroactive payments. And then I believe that agreements were made in terms of paying those retroactive payments out in tranches, because then, of course, I have to look at my colleague Minister of Finance when it comes to the payments. And again, the Justice Ministry is by far the largest ministry in government and takes out a big chunk in terms of personnel and what that costs. But that is my understanding of the LBA process for now. But again, it does also have my attention. And, I've promised at least to Customs that I will have a town hall. Hopefully, we have the budget handling next week, but then hopefully in January, I can give them an opportunity to be able to ask me as minister questions after I myself have gained an understanding of the process. And then I've also reassured the different departments, and as I meet them, I really want to understand what they're dealing with. And of course, we talk to department heads, we talk to the SG, but I also want to leave space and room, for the public to reach me with their concerns, also for the staff to reach me with their concerns, because the well-being of the justice workers is something that is a huge priority of mine. And again, they're the backbone of this society, and I think we've realized too. And even again, I'll bring back my first topic today with the marine industry and the boats. I think we need to realize that without a justice sector that is strong and vibrant, we will not have a tourism product. And that's why, for me, the safety and security is essential, and the happiness of my justice workers is my main priority.
Minister, let me take a follow-up from your opening statement. You spoke about the marine industry and trying to secure our borders, but the police have already indicated that they are short-staffed. There are people going to the police station and they simply can't get help because there is no staff. How do you plan to revamp the police force, especially that we are now in the holiday season? Another question I will ask relating to justice workers is the situation at the immigration department. I mean, there's a chaos. People waiting 18 months to get their documents renewed. How are you planning to address those issues?
I didn't want to talk today too much about understaffing, in the sense of I don't feel like understaffing is something that I don't think that I have the luxury to make excuses. I can't make excuses to the people of St. Martin, and I don't want to stand here as a minister and say, yeah, but we're understaffed. To me, that's not a problem of the people, and that's my problem to solve, along with my colleague Minister of Finance, to look at how can we ensure that we again have a strong justice sector. I have to give my immense kudos and acknowledgement to the Justice Ministry, because we talk about that entrepreneurs are always these resilient people that will find a way, but I think our justice workers and the justice departments are resilient in a way that I have never seen, and what they are able to do with the manpower and with the budget that they have, to me, is nothing short of absolutely commendable. So again, I give my utmost respect to them, and I'm looking for every way that I can support them as the Minister of Justice. And of course, we always come back to that issue of we don't have enough money. We don't have enough money. We've been told, and that I'm sure will come up in the budget handling next week, You know, we've been told to cut from our foreign partners, and to the point that we're almost crippling our government organization. And you know, we have to find creative ways to make it work, and to find ways to spend more efficiently, to work more efficiently, and we're working on all of those things. So with respect to immigration, I'm also looking, that has my attention as well. I have also worked in the private sector where I was assisting people with objections, with immigration procedures, and I see the impact that that has on a person. I'm like, it's somebody's life. Your residency status is something that affects your daily life so deeply that I think we need to have more understanding and acknowledgement for that and more empathy. And also in that, look at how can we improve the service that we provide to the public. Again, it becomes a staffing thing too, where we can't hire sufficient personnel, or we can't open vacancies because we've been told we had to cut budgets. But we're looking at ways with the people that we have, how can we work more efficiently, how can we work better and stay on top of things. So those are matters that also have my full attention, that I'm working with, along with the SG, along with the Director of Immigration, to see how we can improve those processes and work more smartly and more efficiently. And hopefully within the coming months be able to get a little more breathing room in our budget and to hire personnel. But I can stand here saying I need people, but the Minister of TIAT will say the same thing. The Minister of Finance will say the same thing. My colleague Minister of Education, same. So we're all dealing with these budget cut issues, but I think we're trying to find creative ways. And again, I have so much respect for the Justice Ministry. I can't say it enough, and what they've been able to do. So I'm working together with them to gain an understanding and to see how I can support them as minister, how my cabinet can support them to really, again, I keep hammering on the service that we provide to the public, but also their happiness and well-being.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Bibi. Jacqueline, you have the floor.
Also for me? All right.
Minister, the NRPB posted a vacancy on social media. They're looking for a person to manage the prison project and rule of law facilities, they say. Why is that under the NRPB and not someone under the Ministry of Justice? And that person will be working from the NRPB office or together with you? Because the perception is that UNOPS is supervising or managing the development of the project, the prison project.
Yep. So there are actually a couple streams that are working there. So the NRPB, we know the NRPB as Trust Fund, World Bank, and everything that's happened there. However, the NRPB has also over time, because of their project management expertise, also we're looking at ways to utilize the NRPB differently. In this case, for example, there's direct funding from BZK to fix the facilities, to do emergency repairs to the police cells in Phillipsburg. So that is partially running through the NRPB as having to be a more efficient process. So they're assisting with that. So that's part of what you're seeing there. And working together with UNOPS with respect to finding a program manager and someone to help to develop these facilities. So they are working in close collaboration between UNOPS, the Ministry of Justice, and the NRPB on these projects together.
Can you share how much the BZK has funded for that, for those repairs? And
I don't have the number off the top of my head, but it's really just emergency repairs to the cells right now. I want to say it's in the area of $50,000 or something like that, but I can get a confirmation.
Thank you, Minister Tacklin. Thank you, Jacqueline. Emily, you have the floor.
Thank you. Minister, regarding tourists' travel with taxis from one destination to another, as you try to find online anywhere, I think the tourist website, the Taxi Association website you cannot find clear policies and clear rate structures. And so there's been some discussions, for example, if a couple take a taxi to one destination, they pay one fare. But if two individuals take the same taxi to the same destination, they're charging them each the full fares. And so there's a lot of confusion created and therefore tension in the market. So couldn't the TIAT ministry make it more clear what exactly are the rules and what are the fares so that there's no discussions between clients and taxis?
Thank you for that question, Emily. The TIAT Ministry, the Department of Traffic and Transportation, and over the Taxi Association, we're all coming with a comprehensive plan to create new policies, new rules, new guidelines. We're looking to restructure the entire department with issuance of licenses, everything. We're coming with a full-fledged, comprehensive plan. We've met with our counterparts on the French side. They're like 10 steps ahead of us. So we're going to utilize what they have in place to also implement it here. And the rates are also one of the key important factors as to where they're going to find the rates and who and how they're charging. All of that will be included in it. So as soon as I have at least a framework in it, I'm trying my utmost best to have it done in the first quarter of next year. I'm still waiting on the SOAB report. Matter of fact, I just received a letter from the Integrity Chamber where they asked me for an extension. Because I want to use those two reports as the basis on how I set the framework around how everything is done, from the issuing to how the taxis and bus associations, their guidelines on how the structure in place and how things are going to be done. Everything will be done in one comprehensive document.
But since we're going into the busy season,
Yes.
at least some clarity in terms of
on the
how
rates.
it's charged and what's
Yes.
the rate.
It's something we can do on the interim as well that we can look into, because I am, to be honest, getting a lot of complaints about that. You're getting a taxi driver charging a fee for just the destination, and then it's an individual fee per destination, so it's not clear. But we need to put something in place where they can visually see it, and everyone has to buy into to making sure that the taxis charge accordingly. Unfortunately, some taxi drivers are kind of ruining it for some others, so that's why these enforcements are going to be coming in place very soon. Yes.
Thank you, Minister Helijo Martin. Members of the media, this does bring us to the end of the question and answer session. Any further questions can be sent to the Minister's Cabinet in writing. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. For rebroadcast, tune into stmartingov.org, St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, Tel TV Plus Channel 15, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, and YouTube channel Government of St. Martin. For video on demand, log on to the Government of St. Martin's YouTube channel. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Rolika Roach, and wishing you a pleasant day further and season's greetings.